Okay, everybody, welcome back, or congratulations for staying. We now have a super fascinating pitch session on biodiversity. My name is Nick, I'm your maître d'ambiance, and also I'm the co-founder of ChangeMaker Exchange, which is all about empowering the next generation of young social entrepreneurs. Biodiversity, I think one of the underlooked planetary crisis that we're having at the moment, often in the shadow of climate change, but one of the key planetary boundaries that we're crossing as humanity, and in the middle of a mass extinction event. So we really need solutions in this sphere. We're going to, in the next 1 hour or so, hear from 10 startups focusing on the biodiversity crisis, all of whom who are currently looking to raise investment. To do that, we also have some jury members in the front row who are going to choose their coup de cœur, their favorite of these startups, and also give them the chance to network afterwards. I'd love to hand over first to you. You can stay seated as you introduce yourselves, to very briefly introduce who you are and yeah, your work in one sentence or so. Thank you.
Laurent Sulin. I'm working for ICFA. ICFA is an acceleration program for climate fund managers, and we are helping them to launch their first fund in climate and sustainability.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Marie. I'm a private equity analyst at Kimpa, which is a multi-family office accompanying family businesses and entrepreneurs in all their impact investments, and me especially in private equity and venture.
Cool. Okay. Thank you so much. So let's hear from some of the solutions, I think. And the first one is the first search engine dedicated to protecting biodiversity and animal welfare. They're going to come on and pitch for 3 minutes. At the end of the 3 minutes, you're going to hear a gong, and I'm going to mercilessly then cut this person's pitch. So welcome to the stage, Karma stage. Enjoy. Let's have a big clap.
Hello everyone. What you see in my hand is a smartphone. It's a very standard phone. It has nothing fancy about it, yet it is very special. It has superpowers. With it, I can help protect biodiversity right here, right now. And guess what? You can actually do the same with the phone in your pocket. Because every time you search the web, you generate lots of revenues, insane amounts. Such sponsored links are the biggest source of revenue on the web. 185 billion euros per year. To give an order of magnitude, that's roughly the equivalent of the total GDP of a country like Greece. And Google owns 82% of that market. So we created Karma, so that you can have a choice of what you want to do with this resource. Karma is an ethical search engine dedicated to protecting biodiversity and animal welfare. Human activities have already decimated 2/3 of wildlife in the last 50 years, and 1/3 of all species are at risk of extinction today. It's not just a moral issue. Our health, our economy, what we eat, everything rely on biodiversity. So if it collapses, it's game over. We will disappear as well. So every time you search with Karma, the revenue you generate with sponsored links are dedicated to finance the action of non-profits who fight to protect life on Earth. And it's a big deal. In fact, if 1% of users switch to Karma, we'll be able to finance our partners to the tune of 1 billion per year. And it's very easy to use. It works just like your search engine, except we don't invade your privacy. We don't do tax optimization or other evil stuff. So, in fact, Karma is a not-for-profit company, meaning we will never, ever pay dividends. all the profits we generate will go towards financing our partners or be reinvested in the project to grow our impact. But Karma is more than a search engine. It's also, we leverage, in fact, the fact you use your search engine on a daily basis. So we in fact, empower you to be part of the change. We provide a news feed of useful resources to get informed and to take concrete actions. So in a nutshell, Karma is easy to use as your search engine and a way to finance biodiversity. Please visit us at our booth, just right here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karma. And can I take the flicker as well? Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, and excuse the gong went 1 minute early there. So this is a website enabling everyone to be able to plant trees and then follow the history of their project. Sounds super curious. It's Treedom. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Can I take the clicker too? Thank you. Is that? Yeah, all right, volume. So, thank you for having me. I'm Anna and I'm from Treedom. As you may tell from our name and our slogan, we are here to green the planet, and we do so by planting trees. But our work is special in a huge variety of ways, but I'll talk about a couple of them today. The first one is our methodology. So we plant trees in agroforestry systems. Agroforestry systems are very complex and they take a lot of time to set up and manage, but they provide a huge amount of social and environmental benefit. Fruits from crop yielding trees can feed families, communities, and actually if there's any surplus for those crops, you can sell them at market and provide income for other things. Managing an agroforestry system creates a huge amount of employment for men and women across all of our projects. We don't go into a country, plant trees and leave. We actually ensure we provide long-term, multi-channel skills and education-based training for these farmers so that they can nurture those trees to adulthood. Of course, we do all of this with the partnerships through our NGO partners to provide social and environmental benefit worldwide. The second very special way we work is our platform. So every tree that Treedom has ever planted, and there are 3.2 something million of them, has been photographed, geolocated, and is visible online. This is what we call the tree diary. Each tree has a unique one, and we add thousands every week, every day probably. So it has a unique picture of the tree's geocoordinates. It has a description of the species, local uses that the community will use it for, benefits for the planet, benefits for the community, but also stories direct from the project. So you will hear from the farmers who are benefiting from investment. The beautiful thing about this is not just the transparency, but also it enables us to gift trees to one another. So individuals will come to us and purchase trees for a loved one, and if any of you want to come and find me after this, I'll give you a tree of your very own. As such, we have over 1 million users who have purchased a tree on our platform. Companies come to us for a huge range of reasons. Always CSR is always involved, of course, but rewarding and recognizing staff in an innovative way, or perhaps adding a very impactful, meaningful storyline to your marketing campaign, as Intimissimi have done. We've got nearly, actually it's now over 9,000 companies that have planted trees with us. So yes, we plant trees, but actually we grow trees. And by combining people with planet, we have found that you can enable individuals, companies to make sustainable and transparent change. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Anna, love the tree diary. Okay, so next up, a venture which is all about removing CO2 by restoring degraded lands. This is SoilWatch. Welcome. Big clap, please. Enjoy.
Cheers. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is William, CTO at SoilWatch, and our mission is essentially to drive, or at least drive the large-scale landscape restoration movement through more transparent and scientifically rigorous monitoring. And we do that mostly with satellite data, but not only, as you will see. So as we know, the agricultural, forestry, land use sector is about a quarter of our global anthropogenic emissions. And it's something which is being tackled through many types of solutions, like nature-based solutions, carbon offsetting projects, and other types of mechanism, and we're really basically want to provide evidence of real climate impact of these projects, because currently there are quite a few studies on this, but there's this Finnish non-profit that says that up to 90% of the carbon projects that have been sort of audited or evaluated fall short of their climate impact. So just to give you a quick example, we're here in central Kenya in the Laikipia plateau, and there is no photoshopping, no before after. It's the same image on the same day with two areas that one is actively managed, one isn't, and I think it's pretty clear which one is basically in a better state, or the ecosystems are in a better state. It's on the right side. So the theory change of landscape restoration has been proven scientifically. There's a clear benefit, but we need to make sure that this science is introduced at every single step of the project life cycles, such as these ones. So the solution consists of these three pillars. Assess the restoration potential of a given landscape. Of course, for landscape restoration, you need to first identify degraded areas and then also prescribe the appropriate restoration measure for that area. Then we need to measure the climate impact through continuous monitoring and forecasting of carbon stocks. And we also make sure that co-benefits are also being monitored, not just being carbon-centric at all costs, but also looking at biodiversity, drought monitoring, drought resilience monitoring. It's a really hard, let's say, challenge to face, but what we've seen is that a lot of players in this monitoring, reporting, verification environment are not open and transparent enough in how they operate. So that's really what we want to basically hammer in, is that this is absolutely necessary. The collaborative approach with academic partners is essential. The scientists know better. They spend their lives studying this. So what we have to do is support them in operationalizing the work that they do, and that's what we do as well. And boots on the ground is also essential in the sense that you cannot really solve this problem with a back office tech solution. You need to know the local context, and you need to be able to understand what is an adequate, let's say, measure for restoration. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Big round of applause. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, so next up, also restoring degraded land, and this time turning it into productive agricultural bamboo fields. This is Bamboologic. Welcome.
Thank you.
Paris, we have a problem. A lot of problems, actually. Summers are getting drier, harvests fail more often, and if we do nothing, 1/3 of agricultural land will be degraded by 2030. Globalization has arisen, and due to that, industries have scaled down in Europe or even disappeared. And if we look at the carbon or nitrogen taxes, young people like me, we are not even able to build houses anymore with materials used for generations, like concrete, steel, or PVC. But there is a solution. There's one agricultural crop out there, which is a solution for almost all these problems. It grows on degraded land, recovers soil, and captures enormous amount of carbon. It is just another grass, like we have a lot in Europe. It is bamboo. After maturity, bamboo can be harvested yearly. And within 30 years, we can have 15 times as much bamboo compared to cutting down trees. These bamboo can be used as a solution to create employment in rural areas and provide a local food supply in those areas. It is also a substitute for cotton and pulp in pulp production, and for an alternative for hardwood, concrete and steel in construction materials. We at Bamboologic, we see the potential to plant 100,000 hectares of bamboo in Europe. Interweaved with local flora, it creates habitats for insects and plants, and it's not invasive at all, but it will help to regenerate landscapes. 2 years ago, at this stage, we announced that we were putting the first plant in European soil. At this moment, we have planted 109 hectares in Portugal and are expanding exponentially, up to 1,500 hectares next year. Together with local farmers, also in Portugal, Spain, France and Greece, and even the Benelux, we are creating the bamboo industry in Europe. We have an experienced team which has planted over 25,000 hectares around the world, and we are the biggest propagator of bamboo in Europe. We are looking for financial support to expand what we are doing and to set a European industry. Together with you, we can make this happen. What we need is you to create a better world for you, our world, and with one miracle plant, we can make this happen.
Okay.
Bamboo for Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Bamboologic. So, last but not least for this round, we have a forest management company giving back value to forest and biodiversity, ECOTREE. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Chris, and we are ECOTREE. And we have created a model that creates profitable sustainability. That means that we have created a model that actually makes you make money on planting trees. We have some commitments to the world, first of all. We need to safeguard nature, we need to safeguard biodiversity, and we need to grow each a lot more. We have to raise awareness, and we have to educate people. Not just our customers, but to everyone. And we have to create valuable forests, forests that capture carbon, forests that builds biodiversity, but also forests that creates value for our customers. So what is it that we do? We buy up land and we plant sustainable forestry here in Europe. In those projects, we make sure that there's a huge focus on biodiversity. That means that in every forest that we build, both in France or in Denmark where we're building forests right now, they are locally sourced, there's a focus on biodiversity, there's a focus on local species, there's a focus on both nature and biodiversity have to preserve. So we made a unique and profitable offer. You buy, first of all, we believe instead of shaming and looking at people and saying you're bad because you don't do enough good, you're not green enough, you're not environmental friendly enough, we believe that you should reward those who actually do good. So we have made this model where we actually reward the ones that do a little or a lot or a massive amount of good. And that is why the ECOTREE model is so great. You own trees 100% legally. We just take care of them, but we take care of them for 100 years. And you receive 100% of the proceeds of your trees. That means that your trees, when they're cut down in sustainable forestry in the end, new trees will be planted. But you will receive the profits from your trees. That actually means that we are paying you to plant trees. It just takes some time. In all our forests, we are building biodiversity projects, not only in our forests, also around them and in separate areas. We're doing a lot of different biodiversity projects to support the local fauna, support wildlife, animal life, and all this to make sure everyone thrives. We don't do it just because of a financial incentive or anything else, but because it's good for the world, it's good for the forest. If the forest thrives, the trees grow faster and everyone wins. But it's also good for our customers because they can use it in their CSR, their positive marketing. And when you work with ECOTREE, this is the UN Sustainable Goals that you're contributing to. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Brilliant model that you have. Okay, I'm going to invite the other speakers back to the stage. And again, super short, sharp Q&A. One question to each venture, please. Okay, and you can...
So I will just go by different order. So Kanop first. So if I understand well, you are a searching engine and you want to retrieve benefits to biodiversity organization. I have a quick question on how do you create revenues, because if you don't have ads, if you don't have GDPR not compliant use of data, how do you manage the two?
No, so good question. Actually, we do have ads. We use the exact same business model as any other search engine, sponsored links. When you make a search query, you get results, and some of those results at the top are displayed as ads and are paid for by some sponsors.
Okay, Treedom, I'd like to know in which countries you're present, like you're planting trees, and who does the monitoring of the trees? Is it the communities, or do you have people in the company doing it?
So we are stage managed. We are present in where we do the planting is across Central and Southern America, so Ecuador, Guatemala, Honduras, Haiti, Colombia. Then we have Africa as well, with Kenya, Madagascar, Tanzania, Cameroon and Ghana. We're opening Malawi very soon. We also plant in Nepal, and we're opening Thailand as well. And we work in those countries because we can have the greatest social benefit. So owning, dozens or hundreds of trees will really change your life as opposed to planting trees in kind of more developed northern countries. Who does the monitoring? It's the second question. So do we do it or do they do it? It's a complete teamwork effort, as most things should be. We have forestry managers, which is a really big range of expertise, agronomists mostly. They work with the community first to build the forestry plans, so we make sure it's meeting all of those social and environmental needs. They do all the training, and they deliver that training through our NGO partners. And then the farmers, the NGO partners, and our forestry team all do the monitoring together. So all the data, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, is uploaded onto our platform. You get stories, videos from the farmers, videos from the projects, as well as the picture of the tree and its geo-coordinates. We do something called distribution checks, where we will go visit a tree that's been planted years before to make sure it's well and healthy. On the very rare chance it's failed, we will replant the tree and notify the platform. So it's an ongoing team effort.
Thank you. So for SoilWatch, I have a quick question. So if your value proposition is to compare how soil evolve and how some politics may improve the quality of soils or improve biodiversity, and you wanted to make some kind of impact measurement from there. So how do you have a kind of recognition that your AI or your solution has a real is at least recognized as giving a good measure of impact?
Yeah, so everything we do is based in peer-reviewed science, and actually the idea is that whichever method we use to quantify a certain component of the ecosystem carbon, whether it's soil or above ground biomass or or even root system biomass, it's based in peer-reviewed research. And everything we do, like those snippets of codes that correspond to the implementation of this scientific method, is we basically open source that. So not the entire system, obviously, but just to be able to have a third party re-implement our method with the source data and with the method that we deploy. There's no machine learning silver bullet to quantify ecosystem carbon. So even though there are components that are AI based, as we may say, they're pretty much, it's based on biogeochemical models, so real soil science, pedology, and these types of sciences more than machine learning.
Thank you.
Just keeping you on your toes with some explosion noises while they're answering.
For Bamboologic, I wanted to know, do you also exploit the farms that like the areas that you plant, and what final products do you do, since there are so many applications possible?
Yes, we have different methods. We have our own fields in Portugal where we scale up, but we also have an outgrower model. So because there are 1,600 species of bamboo, we do consultancy for farmers, what species they could use for what applications. We are the biggest propagator, so we can also deliver these plants, help them with carbon credits if they want them, and we make a business case for all different applications. We did the hardwood for CLB, cross-laminated bamboo, the fibers for textile, fibers for composites, and also the food production. And within an area of 300 kilometers, we want to have at least 500 hectares. So in Portugal we make a blueprint, but we want to do that, put it, that industrial area in every location. So 100% of the bamboo produced could be used for production on high-end products.
So last question for ECOTREE. So I have two questions. The first one is like, how do you manage land acquisition for your project? And the second one is a bit more focused on how do you manage long term, as you were talking about 100 years to have a final, let's say, management of your project. So I was interested to know a bit about that.
Yeah, the project doesn't end after 100 years. That's just the guarantee. So first, acquisition. So we buy up lands, and every time we buy up a land and we sell off the trees, we create a gross margin, just to be completely transparent, and we make money, and actually that project pays off itself and can tunnels into the next project and finances the next project. So ECOTREE buys and owns the land in every country we go into. And the second question?
Here it's for investors, for you, if they need to wait until you can cut trees, then how do you imagine this long term?
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good question. So for B2C customers, they will normally have to wait 60, 70, 80, 100 years, depending on what tree, sometimes 145 years, depending on what tree species you buy. So actually, you're not getting the money. Maybe you get that old, maybe I will as well, but probably it's your kids who will actually receive those funds back. So actually, you're planting trees for the next generation, like it should be, and they will actually benefit from it financially. For companies, when we do bespoke projects like carbon projects or just bespoke marketing projects, or etc., we actually give them out their money on a continuous basis. So the first cut is after 22 years, where we cut a few trees to make room for the rest, to make them grow even better. And they will receive the first financing. So when they invest in a forest project with us, our average is year 62. They will go break even, and from year 62, they'll actually start creating a steady revenue from their forest that they can reinvest in forest, or they can use for themselves, depending on the
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thanks for the short, sharp question and answer. Thank you. We'll invite you to the networking area to deepen those conversations shortly. And now we have 5 more biodiversity solutions to the stage, each of them, again, 3 minutes. How's the energy in the room? Still good? We've seen a lot of, let's show me your hands if you have some good energy, seen some cool stuff. And next up, accelerating investment in high-trust carbon projects with biodiversity co-benefits. It's Dendra Systems. Enjoy, 3 minutes.
When we started Dendra Systems, carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was below 400 parts per million. Today, it's pushing up near 420 parts per million. The urgency of this climate crisis is clear. Now, as we watch that number continue to soar, we also see and feel the threats to biodiversity on Earth and the associated impacts on livelihoods and economies. Ecosystem restoration is core to solving each of these challenges, but only if it can be done properly. And today, land managers don't have the tools that they need, and investors don't have the confidence that they need to invest in the right projects. Dendra Systems is a pioneer in ecosystem restoration at scale. And when we combine ecology, operations, and AI, we're able to direct restoration work to monitor ecosystem health and provide accurate and reliable assessments of large-scale carbon projects, empowering everybody in the supply chain. Our ultra-high-resolution imagery enables environmental managers to visualize entire ecosystems as if they were standing right above them. Our management tools are able to direct restoration work, coordinate contractors, and then provide that governance and consistency that you need. And finally, our aerial seeding accelerates restoration at 11 times faster and 3 times cheaper than traditional restoration methods. This combination of data, environmental management, and aerial seeding provides that end-to-end value that our customers need. Dendra Systems is the platform for scalable ecosystem restoration. This integrated platform approach is what enables that transparency and consistent governance using a disruptive science-based approach. Last year, we saw 400% top-line growth, and we've also been increasing our scale capacity by tenfold every year for the last 5 years. When we look at this, we're also entering new markets, and what we see, what is needed right now in the carbon market is high-trust, high-quality, biodiverse carbon, and specifically carbon removal. And that's where we come in. We're able to provide a quality data for compliance and regulators. We're able to provide quantified biodiversity and carbon linked together to increase the value of carbon credits and those management tools so that we can see the full outcomes. If you're wanting to power our next phase of growth, we'll be raising Series B at the end of this year. My name is Susan Graham. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Dendra Systems, and I invite you all to join us in this fight for our natural world. Thank you.
Woohoo! Thank you, Susan. That was great. So, next up, EverGreening the Earth with nature-based solutions. This is the Global EverGreening Alliance. Your time to shine.
My name is Chris Armitage, and I'm the CEO of the Global EverGreening Alliance. I'd like to talk to you about a paradigm shift, one that's paving the way for corporate investment to significantly address the interrelated global challenges of food insecurity, land degradation, and climate change. To date, most investments into nature-based carbon offsetting programs have focused on REDD+. But while these programs are important, if we're going to have any real chance of avoiding a climate catastrophe, we need to do more than avoid emissions. We need to draw down carbon that's already in the atmosphere. We need massive scale land restoration programs, and they need to be attractive to private investment. This is why 10 years ago, many of the world's largest and most capable NGOs and scientific institutions came together to create the Global EverGreening Alliance. Its purpose is to support effective collaboration and to develop an investment model for community-led land restoration at landscape scale, a model that leverages the particular strengths, capacities, and the existing programs of more than 70 organizations. Our programs are designed with communities and support small-scale farmers to adopt the practices that they really want, practices that increase the productivity, the reliability, and the resilience of their food production systems, while increasing carbon stored in the landscape. Historically, these programs have been grant-funded, but in recent years, we've analysed the carbon already being sequestered across a diverse portfolio of programs, and we've developed a robust carbon and investment financial model for large-scale investment. This is a model built on tried and proven farmer-led approaches and implemented by experienced NGOs, scaling out from existing successful pilots. It's reliable, it's scalable, and it delivers enormous benefits to vulnerable communities, to the environment, and to investors. At COP26, Climate Asset Management announced an investment of $150 million into our Restore Africa program to directly support more than 1.5 million farmers to restore more than 1.9 million hectares of degraded land across 6 countries, sequestering around 63 million tonnes of carbon. And this program is being officially launched next Monday, the 23rd of May. It's just one of a portfolio of large-scale investment opportunities spanning Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Australia. In late June, with the African Union's AFR 100, we'll be co-hosting a land restoration forum in Uganda, bringing together key stakeholders including 15 governments, corporate investors, and grassroots developers to lay the foundation for a collaborative planning process that spans the region. And in late August, we're holding a similar event in Nigeria with a focus on the Sahel and the Great Green Wall. So please join us in restoring landscapes and livelihoods as we accelerate efforts to address climate change at a globally significant scale. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Global EverGreening Alliance. And good juggling with all the things in your hands. Thank you. Okay, so next up, enabling forest carbon project developers to measure their climate impact. This is Kanop. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, applause for Kanop. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Romain, CEO and co-founder of Kanop. The Earth is warming up. And if we want to remain under 2 degrees of increase in temperature before 2030, there are 2 main levers. One is we need to mitigate our emissions, for sure, and then we need to reduce our emissions, and then we need to leverage our planet, our environment, to sequester more carbon. And that's our focus. And if we look into that area, into this third, most of that effort can be done with forests. And particularly, it can be done through sequestration projects. So we are helping at Kanop project developers to measure and certify their climate impact. Why? Because today, measuring and certifying this impact, this sequestration, is really expensive. It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of operations. And even having said that, data produced are not always perfect, and the entire value chain lacks trust. And we're here to improve, increase trust within that value chain. How we do that? We use very high resolution satellite imagery, optical and also radar, and we build our own algorithm to build the digital twin of forest at the tree level. And this digital twin at the tree level enables us to produce data at the tree level that can be data that is explainable. We can produce data at tree by tree. For instance, how much carbon is this tree has sequestrated compared to last year? What's the additionality? We're making measurement and certification more accessible, transparent, time efficient, and we see Kanop as a new industry standard, as a new certification standard for all nature-based solutions. We're a team of 5. We're a team of 5. We're 2 co-founders. Luis is an engineer in AI. We are incubated by the European Space Agency, the Climate Kick through the Clim Accelerator, Hectare and Paris & Co. And at the moment we're building a lot of partnerships with universities and laboratories to develop and build the best product possible in our area. To conclude, I'd say that we focus on, as I said, on measurement certification and not on trading offsets. That's my pitch. Thank you.
Kanop. Great, thanks. And we have 2 more in this round. Next one is all about using environmental DNA to provide biodiversity data. This is NatureMetrics. Enjoy. 3 minutes is yours.
Thank you. Hi. My name's Dr. Kat Bruce. I'm the founder of NatureMetrics, the world's leading environmental DNA company. eBioAtlas is a collaboration between NatureMetrics and IUCN to map the world's biodiversity using DNA from water samples. Biodiversity has shot up the agenda of governments, businesses, and civil society. We've suddenly realized that it's critical to our ability to feed the world and maintain the global economy, let alone being central to our only chance of keeping global temperature rise below 2 degrees. And as a result, business and finance are getting serious about biodiversity, and ambitious new global goals are set to be launched later this year. But biodiversity has a measurement problem which threatens to undermine all of this positive momentum. Think of carbon. That's a single molecule that's the same everywhere in the world. Biodiversity is all life on Earth. It's vast and complex, and it's different in every place. The tools that we've used until now to measure biodiversity, the traps and microscopes and nets, these barely scratch the surface. And actually our global knowledge on the distribution of species right now is astonishingly poor. It's not good enough to set meaningful goals and targets and to hold to account those whose actions don't meet their rhetoric. But in recent years, a new tool has emerged, which is a complete game changer for measuring biodiversity at scale. All living things leave traces of DNA, and these accumulate in water. So our rivers, lakes, and oceans are like soups of genetic material of all the species that live in and around them. And we can capture these traces of environmental DNA just by pushing water through a fine filter with a syringe, in a process that's easy enough that a 5-year-old can do it. So now, we've got something we can put in the hands of people all over the world to gather data across the tree of life, from bacteria to blue whales. eBioAtlas will mobilize local stakeholders globally to collect environmental DNA samples that will be analyzed following a standardized procedure. The data will be fed back to the local stakeholders in each place to feed into local biodiversity strategies, and also be aggregated up into a global, up-to-date, harmonized biodiversity data layer that the world so desperately needs. We're raising $15 million of philanthropic and grant funding, which will let us collect and analyze 30,000 samples over the next 3 years. This data will be housed in an accessible and interoperable database, and IUCN will be leading and managing the funds, and NatureMetrics is committed to providing the kits and analysis at cost price. Sampling's already started in 4 continents, and we've got 200 organizations standing ready to work with us in more than 54 countries. Right now, we're running blind in a biodiversity crisis that threatens the future of life as we know it. We're asking you to help us turn on the light so we can map a path to a prosperous, healthy, and nature-positive future. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. That was brilliant. Okay, cool. So the last pitch on this round before the Q&As around performing environmental digital assessments thanks to artificial intelligence. This is WIPSEA. Welcome. Thank you.
Hi, I am Gwenaël Duclos, the CEO and founder of WIPSEA. At WIPSEA, we provide environmental digital assessments thanks to AI. So how did I have the idea to found WIPSEA? I was in Madagascar in 2010, and I was an eco-volunteer, and I was animating whale-watching sessions. And one day, a newly wed couple came and asked to go to the sea, and just after a few minutes, we had a wonderful spectacle of 2 whales courting each other by dancing like that. And it was really amazing. So I discovered that we could have harmony between wildlife and humans. So I decided also at that time to change and to work for these animals, especially because I discovered that many marine biologists are using more and more images, and they are not able to process them manually. So as I was a computer vision engineer, I decided to work for them and to build software to enable them to process all these images automatically. So the new market we are working on is the fact that to be able to census or to map the marine megafauna in offshore wind farms or in marine natural parks, they were using people inside a plane, and they had to fly very low to be able to recognize the species of birds. But it's very dangerous, and it will be forbidden on the wind farms. So the idea was to build a new system based on high-resolution images and artificial intelligence to detect the animals automatically. So we built this software with many organizations, like the French Biodiversity Office, with all the MPAs, also with IFREMER and France Energy Marine, which is the Institute for the Research in Offshore Wind Farms. And we built a new software capable of detecting all the marine megafauna. And now we are addressing the offshore wind farm market with this solution. we tested it in Fécamp on Courseulles EDF sites last year, and now we are responding to call for tenders, and we already won one with the EDF at Courseulles. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, WIPSEA. Thank you. Okay, so we now reach the second Q&A session. So I'd like to invite everyone back to the stage, the 5 pitchers. And same flow again. So for the jury, super quick, short, sharp questions and answers to each venture. 1 for each, please.
Question to NatureMetrics. So as you're providing a tool to assess biodiversity, do you think that your tool could be used by governments to improve the assessment of biodiversity politics, especially with new EU regulation related to taxonomy, where biodiversity is still a big question mark?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the core applications that we're working on at the moment and looking very carefully at how that regulation is being made. I think the place-based nature of biodiversity is absolutely critical, and it's really important that there is actually on-the-ground monitoring to show change within each place. So yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
For Dendra systems, how is the technology developed, and is it patented?
Yes, so we've got a family of patents. In terms of how the technology is developed, we're platform agnostic in many respects. And so especially because we have scaled our technology tenfold every year for the last 5 years, it means we move on through different generations of technology. And that is both the automation of our hardware systems as well as the digital systems. So that's the machine learning as well as the drones, if you were to simplify it that way. And this has really opened up the new verticals. So we've moved from the mining sector to infrastructure, government, and carbon. And that's been that tenfold increase in scale in each of those verticals.
I have a question for Kanop. So as your tool is a measurement certification tool, how do you yourself being certified or give at least a good temperature of what is feasible as a measurement?
Our aim is to get an external certification by a company such as Bureau Veritas. So we need indeed an external, kind of approval about our methodology and our results. That's the way we'll be building trust and building confidence.
And is it done now, or is it still a step to do?
No, it's a step to do. The company is 1 year old, so this step is planned to, that's for September and October.
Okay, for global EverGreening, sorry, what's your business model and who are your target clients?
So up until a couple of years ago, it was mainly bilateral and multilateral donors. For the last 2 years, it's been primarily large-scale corporate investors. And it's basically an alternative model for investments into incredibly large-scale carbon offsetting programs that are community-led, that provide most of the benefits directly back to the grassroots, but also provide a really good return to investors. And at this stage, we've got a portfolio of very, very large regional programs in the order of 50 to 150 million US dollars.
So a question for Dendra. So as your model is, let's say, focusing on ground evaluation, but also on seeding different place, let's say I didn't get exactly who would be your paying clients and your business model related to it.
Yeah, so our paying clients are mining companies, large corporates, infrastructure projects, governments, as well as then on the carbon side, that's carbon environmental managers. In terms of our business model, it's priced per hectare or per acre, both for our aerial seeding and for our insights, 2 different pricing tables, which have economies of scale, so our customers see a benefit in the pricing with increasing scale based on each of the projects.
Thank you.
Okay, and for WIPSEA, once you get the data about the megafauna that is present in the area that you analyze, what do you do with it? Do you have recommendations for the clients that are paying for the data, or like what happens?
Yeah, we work with experts in marine megafauna. So we give our data extracted from the photos to this company, and they are making some distribution maps or modeling future abundance of the population, and they also write all the reports for our customers, and they can also advise them about what is happening during, for example, the offshore wind farm construction, or where would be the best area to put the offshore wind farm.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. That concludes our session on one of the world's most critical crises right now, the biodiversity. I'd like to invite all of you into the networking area to continue those conversations. Thank you so much. We'll be a couple of minutes, and then we have the next round of pitches on inclusion. So thank you. Thank you, everybody. Well done. Thank you.